What are some of the findings that you have discovered with Black women, particularly young Black women in breast cancer?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It has indeed been quite a journey geographically and emotionally in every way that you can think of over the past several decades, and the opportunities that I've been honored to be involved with in terms of research. And in looking at some of the basics that describe the breast cancer burden of African American women, we have had clues for several decades that there were genetic issues at play. As you mentioned, the younger age distribution of breast cancer in Black women compared to white women, the higher rates of biologically aggressive tumors. Those types of features absolutely made us concerned that African ancestry in and of itself is associated with a hereditary susceptibility for certain patterns of the disease. And that's why we were motivated to work on the continent of Africa to study the breast cancer burden of women on the continent of Africa. And Africa is a huge continent, obviously, and it's the homeland for all of mankind. So it has tremendous diversity in terms of the way that African communities live and their environmental exposures, diet. So we knew early on that we were going to need to study breast cancer on different regions of Africa. So in particular, we've been looking at the breast cancer burden of women from Western Sub-Saharan Africa compared to women from East Africa. And we've made some striking observations. One of the things that we've seen early on, and it's been consistent over the past 20 years that we've been doing this work, is that these biologically aggressive triple-negative breast cancers are even more prevalent among women in Western Sub-Saharan Africa, but they're actually uncommon among women in East Africa.
Why is that?
Well, we coined the term oncologic anthropology to try to explain these patterns. We see the higher rates of triple-negative breast cancer in African American women. And if you think back to grade school social studies, you'll remember the transatlantic slave trade several hundred years ago brought the ancestors of contemporary Western Sub-Saharan Africans across the ocean to serve as slaves in the colonies. And so as contemporary African Americans, we actually have quite a bit of shared ancestry with Western Sub-Saharan Africans. The East African slave trade, on the other hand, largely went further east to the Mideast and to Asia. So as African Americans, we don't have quite so much shared ancestry with East Africans. So we've been narrowing down the genetics of African ancestry linked to this risk of biologically aggressive tumors such as triple-negative breast cancers. We've narrowed it down to Western Sub-Saharan African ancestry. And it probably is related to some of the genetics that were acquired by our ancestors in that part of Africa to survive different infectious diseases that were endemic to that part of the continent. And so these lessons that we're learning in terms of the genetics of our ancestors and the genetics of the immune response to infections, they have a downstream consequence on the immune landscape of different organs. And this has an effect on risk for different types of breast tumors that we develop. And it probably has an effect on response to treatment. So we are actually very, very excited that what we learn about the genetics of African ancestry and how it impacts on breast cancer risk, it's probably going to teach us quite a bit about our immune system in terms of response to cancer, cancer biology. And these lessons are going to be important to all people in terms of cancer, because we do live in an era of immunotherapy today where we are trying to understand how the body's own immune system fights off cancer and contributes to response to treatments for cancer. So the work has been very exciting.
It's a new buzzword, not for you, but for the general public, immunotherapy. So if you'll take a moment and just, again, explain to our audience what immunotherapy really consists of. I know you just said it, but let them really understand again what that whole process looks like.
Thanks. So our bodies do have wonderful immune systems that fight off cancers all the time. Cancer at its root is a genetic aberration where some cells in the body start dividing beyond the body's own response controls. But we do make cancer cells all the time, and our body's immune system is able to fight those cancer cells off most of the time. But sometimes the cancers escape, they evade the body's immune system, and a cancer will take root in a particular organ. As we get more advanced in the arena of precision medicine, we are learning how to manipulate the body's immune system so that we can enhance our body's ability to fight off a cancer that has already taken root. And so we do have some immunotherapies that have been very successful, particularly for some of our more biologically aggressive breast tumors, such as triple-negative breast cancer. And the body's immune system, broad diversity, a lot of breadth there. So there's a lot more that we have to learn so that we can optimize our ability to manipulate the immune system better and help our bodies fight off cancers even more strongly.